Scott Drew has his work cut out for him. We all know that going into this offseason. It's not the first time we've talked about it. It won't be nearly the last time we talk about exactly what Scott Drew has to do. Another player going into the portal today, Giannis, last name. It didn't really play for Baylor, but he's in the portal as well, which just reemphasizes how much Scott Drew is going to have to load up into the transfer portal shopping cart. Good news is he got his first commitment from the portal on Monday. Michael Rataj, I believe is how you say that. I've heard announcers say it both ways. Rataj from Oregon State. He comes in with just 1 year of eligibility left, it looks like. He comes in after his junior year. A wing guy, forward, 6'9", 220. First team all West Coast Conference last year because, Oregon State plays in the West Coast Conference now. 17 points a game, led the team with 7 rebounds as well, and shooting at almost 50% from the floor. So far, so good, man. Like, there's not many holes you can poke in that. You're adding a 17-point scorer who can score a little outside, a lot more inside, and can help your team at both ends of the floor. 35% three-point shooter last year, which was 6 points higher than percentage points than the year before, and took more threes this past year. So that's a good jump. He only takes like 3 or 4 a game, so it's nothing crazy. He does most of his scoring at the rim. Actually, more than half his points are at the rim. But his team was much better when he was out on the floor. They had 110 offensive rating. He did, not them. He did. So when he's on the floor, for every 100 possessions, Oregon State was going to score 110 points. And those of you who follow like the team stats like that, that's a pretty anything over 100 there is pretty significant. And he comes in for a team that was, not great. But he made them better. He made Wayne Tinkle's team better. And yes, his name is Wayne Tinkle. You've got to feel for the guy. You've got to feel for the guy. At least that's a little bit easier to pronounce. But Michael Rataj comes in here as a guy who can score a little bit inside and out. He can be a wing guy for you, which you really didn't have this past year, that kind of two-way wing. Jalen Celestine was not that. And we'll see if he uses that extra year to return to Baylor and be a big part of this thing. But I would say the Celestine year was disappointing with his 3-point shooting, and just, he was kind of called on to play more of an inside game, especially defensively, than I think he was expecting going into this year. And VJ, while could play physical, and so could Langston Love. Like, those guys were guards. They weren't wing guys, even though VJ had a pretty good wingspan. Michael Rataj is that. He absolutely is that, coming in, and was, genuinely one of the best players on the West Coast this past year. So that's kind of the first shoe to drop for Scott Drew. And that's a big one, because again, replacing this whole roster, I'm interested to see how quickly this moves, because as we talked about on the show yesterday, with Obi Agbim of Wyoming, that's apparently coming down at any second. Like, he's going to be owed a good amount of money. And unlike years past, the last 2 or 3 years, Baylor does not need to go and get 2 or 3 guys out of the portal. They need to get like 10 guys out of the portal. So there is kind of a money management thing here. And that sucks that that's what we talk about in college sports these days, but that's the way it is, man. So you can't just commit, $600,000 or something like that to Obi Agbim on day one of free agency when you have a limited budget. And we are starting to see guys who are kind of rushing their transfer portal process because the revenue sharing is going to kick in, and that salary cap is going to kick in a few weeks here. And so they're trying to get, those guys who are trying to get north of $1 million are doing it now. And that goes for the few guys who are on Baylor's roster still. I don't think Rob Wright's getting $1 million somewhere, but could get a pay raise. And that goes for the guys who Baylor is looking at. And so Obi Agben might fit into that, but apparently there's a good enough deal in place for Michael Rataj, who again gives them some inside scoring, a guy who can defend a couple different positions. It looks like from his size, also can put the ball on the floor too. By the way, 14% assist rate for a 6'9" wing. That's not that bad. That's pretty solid, and can create his own shot a little bit. So that's a good start to the transfer portal for Scott Drew. Absolutely. And by the way, just a real quick note, because it does seem like a minor thing, but looking at guys who are going to play for Baylor next year, they only have one commitment through high school recruiting, and he's having a pretty good week. McDonald's All-American practice this week. They put out the top performers after day one. On3 did. Cam Boozer, Duke, commit. Number 1, Carlos Boozer's son. Number 3, Tunde Yesufu of Baylor Bears fame. AJ DeBonsa, the number 1 prospect in the class, slotting right behind him at number 4. A lot of Big 12 guys, by the way. Yesufu, DeBonsa, Krasinak from UH, another guy that Baylor was hot on the trail of. Darren Peterson from Kansas, and Isaiah Harwell also of UH. So a lot of Big 12 on there, but this is just the beginning of it's 2 signs of positive news for Baylor for next year's team, that you got Tunde Yesufu looking good against the best in high school basketball, and Michael Rataj coming in as a first-team all West Coast Conference selection being added to this roster for the 25-26 season. So let me know what you guys think about this pickup and what Baylor needs to do going forward. Please let me know in the comments below, or tweet at us. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can tweet at us at Locked On Baylor. But if you are on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. That helps out the channel a lot. About half of you that are watching every day are still not subscribed. That helps us out a ton. We want to be your number 1 source, your number 1 Baylor sports podcast. I think we've done a pretty good job of that, if I might say so myself.